In this box here, we have DJI's latest entry into the portable power station market. This is the DJI Power 1000. It is a 1024 watt-hour portable power station, and this has some very unique features. So I am no stranger to DJI products. We're actually shooting this video on a DJI camera right now, and the audio you hear is from a DJI microphone. I've also spent my fair share of time flying DJI drones, which is probably what most of you know DJI for. How many times did I just say DJI there? That's a lot. I really like my technology and gadgets when it comes to overlanding and off-roading and camping. And I've made a lot of videos reviewing portable power stations, such as this EcoFlow Delta 2. So you can imagine I was pretty excited to take a look at one of the new products from one of my favorite technology companies and compare it to a product from one of my favorite portable power station companies, EcoFlow. So let's take a look at what DJI is bringing to the table and compare it to a well-established portable power station of about the same price and capacity and features, although they're not quite the same. All right, before we get into all the numbers and specs, the very first thing that I noticed, there's no 12-volt power port on here, one of these guys. This is for commonly powering a fridge in my Jeep. However, the DJI does have these fancy little ports here under these covers that we can attach stuff to. And they sent me some accessories that we can add to this to expand its functionality. And they also sent this super cool solar panel with it. Looks like it's from a company called Zygnus. Probably screwing that name up right there, but you guys can read it. This panel is super cool, super compact. It's compact. It's got a protective outer skin, and then you can easily just fold it up. This is a 100-watt solar panel. They also sent over this bag that we can put the Power 1000 in and make it a little easier to lug around. Take a closer look at DJI's power station here, the Power 1000. So on the front is where we have all the connectivity, which is kind of handy. Sometimes you don't want to have to be going to the back of your power station to be able to plug certain things in. So wherever you mount this to, you can access everything from the front. There's nothing at all on the back side, so you can put it right up against something. On the sides we have ventilation, but we also have these mounting points here for something like screw holes. We don't have them on the other side, we just have ventilation. On the left we have two AC 110 ports. These can run at 2200 watts until you completely drain the battery out, and they have a peak output of 4400 watts and a max output of 2600 watts. And we have a simple button right here below it to turn these on and off, which I guess we should probably start charging this. Let's get to charging first. Since I can't find my extension cord, we're gonna charge this in the least green way possible, and that is, we're gonna plug it into the EcoFlow and charge the DJI off of that. Now they do use this very standard 3-prong connector that's like for PC power cables, and on a lot of portable power stations, if you lose this cord, super easy to find another one. Now since all the power ports are on the front, you will be charging this off the front. So I guess that is a pro or con depending on how you look at it, in that you have to have your cable plugged into the front here to charge this up, which kind of makes things a little bit more messy. Now below this, we have a toggle switch. This is a manual physical switch here that says 1200 watts and 600 watts. So we can change the charging speed, I'm guessing, by flicking this over to 600 watts. Now this is handy if you're plugging this into an inverter that doesn't have the capacity to output 1200 watts. You can slow down the charging rate of this. And we've got our input power right here. This really very nice, clean, bright screen. Very much like on my drones and cameras. Noise you hear are the fans coming off the EcoFlow because the inverter is running like crazy to do this. All of the AC ports, including the charging ports, are on the back of the EcoFlow. We have the 110 wall port plug connection here, and then we also have the DC port, which can be used for 12-volt charging off your car, or it can be used to plug your solar panels in. So we don't need any adapters on the Delta 2. The Delta 2 has a 2200 watt max output with its X-Boost technology built into its inverter, but it's able to run at a continuous 1,800 watts of output. According to DJI, we can charge this in as fast as 70 minutes, or we can get to an 80% charge in just 50 minutes. Right at the bottom of the percentage, how long till it'll be charged, it says 36 minutes. It's telling us capacity, how long till that's done charging. We've got input wattage and output wattage, very basic screen. By comparison, we've got the EcoFlow screen, which tells us a lot of similar information. So I guess really we didn't really need to charge this up because it's at 63% apparently, but we needed to turn it on. So there is a power button here. It's illuminated green. EcoFlow also has a power button on the front as well. We bring this over to my charging station. I want to test this off the wall because now I really want to see and make sure this is going to go to 1,200 watts as claimed. Right up to 1,200 watts immediately. Now the thing I noticed since we got rid of the EcoFlow is this is super quiet. It's not making any noise, running any fans while this is charging. Now, what about when it comes to charging in your vehicle? Well, you have a couple options. You can charge off your inverter in your vehicle. However, since we can only toggle between 600 and 1,200 watts, you'll need to have at least a 600 watt inverter in your vehicle. The EcoFlow Delta 2, though, with their app, I can change the charging speed all the way down to 200 watts. I still can't charge the Delta 2 in my Jeeps. Since a lot of portable power station manufacturers have switched to what's called an LFP or a Life PO4 style battery, I haven't been able to charge them in my Jeep. And the best that I can figure out is because the Jeeps use what's called a modified sine wave inverter, and to charge an LFP type battery, they need a pure sine wave inverter. I don't completely understand the difference. It just doesn't work. Even turning the charging rate of the EcoFlow down to 200 watts doesn't really solve the problem. I can't test this in my Jeeps because the Gladiator only has a 400 watt inverter anyways. My best guess is that it's not going to charge off a modified sine wave inverter because this is an LFP battery as well. Now, something to note with LFP batteries though is they have much better lifespans. They can be charged many more times and still hold a lot of their capacity. Now, EcoFlow and DJI rate these slightly differently. So DJI's battery will maintain over 70% capacity for 4,000 charge cycles, where EcoFlow rates their battery to 80% for 3,000 charge cycles. What other ways can we charge this? Well, in your vehicle, you can charge both of these off of a 12-volt power source. So the top one is called SDC and the bottom one is called SDC Lite. So the Delta 2, we can plug any 12-volt connector that has an XT60i connector into its DC input, and then we can start charging off of a 12-volt source. This is also the same connector that if we want to use solar panels, you get an XT60 adapter for your solar panels and you'll plug them in there, and so you can only have one charging at a time. But now the way DJI is doing this is they've got the adapters. So we've got the 12-volt charging adapter, which has an XT60i on it right here, and we can plug that into the adapter, and then we can plug that into one of these fancy ports on the front. So now we can plug this in to a 12-volt source, which I guess we have right here, don't we? And that's going to start charging. We've got a little green light here to indicate such. Now the thing with 12-volt power adapters is they are usually limited to 8 to 10 amps. So 12 times 8, it's going to give you about 96 watts. So it's quite a bit slower for charging off of 12 volt. However, that's going to be the same limitation on an EcoFlow because you're pretty much limited to the amount of amperage available from your 12 volt source. So what else can we do to charge either of these faster? We've covered 110, we've covered 12 volt. There's a couple other options. Both of these can charge off of solar. Now the EcoFlow Delta 2, we can plug into that same DC port because solar is DC, just at a different and higher voltage, so it's going to give us more charging watts as we increase the voltage. Power 1000, we've got the same connector on their solar adapter, which is this box here, which is kind of cool because we can then plug in multiple solar panels into this. We've got actually 3 of these XT60 connectors on here. So we'll bring this outside in a second and see just how much power that cool unfolding 100 watt panel can actually bring. But DJI says on their specifications that the input ports with DC have a maximum of 400 watts of input. So let's hook this up, because I think I figured out what these screw holes are for on the side of this. Because included with the solar adapter, we get these brackets. I'm gonna try to figure these out without reading any instructions. So it turns out we don't need these brackets to mount just one solar adapter onto the side. We can use the two screw holes in this and the included hardware that comes with it. These are for if you want to add two of these. So if you want to add, I guess, 6 inputs. So once we have this mounted to the side, which is nice that they decided to do this, so you don't have this just flopping around, you can actually attach it and leave it connected. We can plug it into one of these fancy ports on the front, these SDC ports. All right, I think I figured out what's going on with the solar input charging speeds. On DJI's website, they show you can connect 2 of these solar adapters to it. And so you can do 400 watts for each one of these ports for a total of 800 watts. So if you had, say, 6 panels, you'd want 2 solar adapters, and then you want to plug into both of these ports, and then you could charge up to 800 watts. But you can only charge 400 watts for each one of these solar adapters, and no panel should exceed 200 watts. On the other hand, with the Delta 2's single port, we can only charge up to 500 watts in that port with whatever configuration of panels you can feed into it, but there's only one connector, 500 watt max. I just wanted to touch base on a couple other things for charging the Delta 2 before we move on. We talked about solar, DC, and AC inputs, but the EcoFlow, flip this around this way, the Delta 2 has one other trick up its sleeve, this expansion port here. So this expansion port is dual purpose. EcoFlow just released a new product called the Alternator charger, which I reviewed, and I'll put a link up here in the corner, which gives you up to 800 watts of charging, but you have to wire it into your vehicle. It's not something you can just plug in. It wires all the way into the battery compartment, and as it's called, Alternator charger, it runs and charges when your vehicle is running and the alternator is running. So you can charge the Delta 2 series batteries up really quickly off of that. The second purpose of this, if you're not using it for charging, is you can attach an expansion battery to it. So EcoFlow sells a 1000 watt hour expansion battery that you can attach to the 1000 watt hour Delta 2 and expand its capacity. The footprint of it is pretty much the same. It looks exactly like this. It just weighs a lot less because it doesn't have all the other components in it.
All right, we've got the solar panels plugged in here, and it is top of the day. These are aimed directly at the sun. We've got about 77 watts here, right here, 77 watts of input coming in off of the 100 watt panel, so that's pretty good. Maybe we can adjust that a little bit and get it a bit better. I like how these solar panels have these built-in legs though, pretty cool. Everything's nice and compact, and it's got a little bag on the side for all the cables as well. Slight improvement. We're up to 78 watts now, so it's the best we can get out of the 100 watt panels. This has to be one of the sleekest solar panel setups that I've had. If they made this in a 200 watt panel, that would be perfect.
So I just happen to have a second solar adapter. So let's attach that to the side of the DJI Power 1000, and I'll show you just what having 2 of them mounted to it looks like. So I detached the first one and added the 2 brackets on, and then now I can attach 2 of them. And by the way, I have 6 of these solar panels. So I thought this would be a good time now to set them all up at once and just see what the charging looks like. In order to use both solar panel adapters, you do need to take this out of the bag so that you can access the ports on the side. With just 3 of the panels hooked up, I was getting about 187 watts of charging, but I think I could probably position the solar panels a little bit better. Let's hook up all 6 of them at once and see what our charging looks like. I decided I would orientate the panels a little bit better towards the sun, and that should help with some of the charging rate. My little trick for adjusting solar panels is you want the lines of the shadows to be parallel with the lines of the solar panel. That means you're facing the sun directly and optimizing your charging rate. With all 6 panels connected and the high noon sun, I was getting around 410 watts of charging.
So at the start of the video, we talked a little bit about output. I mentioned that there is no 12-volt cigarette barrel connector like we have on the Delta 2, which is usually used to power things like fridges.
Available as an additional accessory to the Power 1000, you can get a 12-volt port that can connect up to one of these SDC connections. It's pretty simple. Just unplug one of your solar connectors from the SDC port, and you can plug this in and now power any accessory that uses this type of connector.
The Delta 2 also has these small little barrel connectors on it. I'll show you guys here. These little guys, and they're rated for only 3 amps. I never really could figure out what these were for, but somebody told me they are to run things like a CPAP machine. So let's talk about USB ports, and then we'll talk about these fun SDC ports because they're not just for input. For USB ports, we have 2 standard Type A ports, and then we have a pair of USB-C ports. Now these are a little bit special. These are 140 watt USB ports. You can see right there, try to blow this up, but 140 watts, which is a huge step up from a standard port, which is 24 watts, which is also unique because even on the EcoFlow Delta 2, these, and you can see it printed right on it, are only rated for 100 watts. So we have 2 of these USB-C ports on the front for 100 watts, but fast charging is only 18 watts. These are 12 watts, which is slower than even the standard USB-A ports on the Power 1000, which are 24 watts. But these 140 watt USB-C ports are great for charging things like mobile devices, and they're good for other devices that like fast charging, like maybe your MacBook, which could charge off of USB-C. This seems to have some more versatility for people like me, creators, where you've got a lot of devices, you want a lot of fast charging. This will do it faster than the EcoFlow will right off of the built-in USB ports. So on the topic of creators, DJI being the drone manufacturer, the company, if you want a drone, DJI is the one. I have used several of their drones, so I can see how this is geared more towards the creators, but I can definitely see the benefits of being able to charge all your devices a lot faster. But they have one other trick up their sleeve, and that is, if you have a drone, if you're an avid drone user and you like to fly them a lot and you need to be charging up those batteries, they sell these additional adapters. Now these are unique to your drone. This one here is for the Air 3, which is the drone I have. And you can plug these into these SDC ports, and you can charge your drone battery up directly. This is the proprietary connector for your drone battery. So you can plug this right into your drone battery and juice it up a lot quicker. This is great because you can actually charge for the Mavic 3 Air. This is going to be a little different for each one, but you can charge one of your drone batteries from 10 to 95% in 30 minutes. So if you've got one drone in the air, which has about a flight time of 30 to 40 minutes, depending on what you're doing, you could literally be charging your other battery up, and then when your drone comes down, you could swap it and send it back up again. So the last thing I want to talk about is the mobile app for controlling the power stations. Well, in this case, just the one power station. Only the EcoFlow Delta 2 has an app that you can log into, and you can monitor the battery and charge rates and discharge rates as well. You can go in here and make all of your configuration settings, such as how fast it charges and what level it charges to, because you can set this to charge to 80%, which I believe is supposed to be better for the batteries long term if you're not always needing 100% of the capacity. And this connects over Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So if you have it on your home Wi-Fi network and you're using these, say, as a UPS, then you can monitor it and you can control it, or you can put it somewhere in your vehicle that's way less accessible, and you can toggle the outputs on here because you can control the inverter, the 12-volt DC, and the USB ports with their switches, and you never have to actually access the power station. The DJI does not have any app, so simplicity does have value. This is super simple. If you want to change the charging rate, it's a switch on the front, and if you want to turn the inverter on and off, it's a switch on the front, which means you do have to be able to access this to be able to change it, but it also means that you don't have to be reaching behind it, because if you want to do that with the Delta 2, you have to try to find where those switches are on the back side of it to turn the inverter and the 12-volt output on and off. Otherwise, you can use the app. But that means you gotta have an app. So if you just wanna carry this out to whatever location you wanna use it, you can throw it in the bag. You can throw your accessories and adapters in the bag. It's all contained. You can grab your solar panel, which has a nice handle, and you don't have to worry about an app. You can just plunk this down, charge your drone batteries. You can charge whatever you need off these high-speed 140-watt USB-C ports. And if you need to plug something into the inverter, just hit the button and it fires up. You don't have to dig out your app. As far as pricing goes on the DJI Power 1000, I'm gonna put a QR code right here on the screen right now that you can scan with your phone, and that'll take you to DJI's website. That's gonna give you the latest and most up-to-date pricing, because I find a lot of these power stations fluctuate over time and these videos get watched for years. If you wanna check out the Delta 2 next to it, here's a quick QR code for that as well. These videos are really to help you guys with your buying decisions, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about the two power stations and what actually would you use them for? Which is the DJI Power 1000 better for, and what is the EcoFlow Delta 2 power station better for? Leave some comments down below. I want to check them out and hear what you guys think. And with that said, my name's Casey and I love doing reviews and showing you guys cool new products for the outdoors, camping, off-roading, and getting out and having adventures. If you enjoyed this kind of video, I'm going to suggest a couple other videos you may also enjoy right here. You can check them out. And if you find yourself watching a few videos, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. I'd love to see you guys back here again. And I'll check out the comments that you guys leave down below. I'm excited to hear what you guys think of these power stations and the comparison between the two of them. I'll catch you guys in the next video.